Since the 1970s, a name has appeared very sparingly in Dodge's lineup, and that's the name Demon. The Demon's recipe has always been a simple one. Take a run-of-the-mill Dodge, shove a performance-built V8, beef up the drivetrain to withstand all the power, and make it accessible to the common folk. The Demon carries the torch of Dodge's historically insatiable need to build street-legal drag cars, something that makes no sense on paper, but once materialized, it has given us some of the most coveted muscle cars to ever exist. If you look up the definition of a one-trick pony, you'll probably see the picture of a Dodge Demon. That one trick is to cross 1,320 feet of asphalt from a standstill faster than any other production car on the planet, something Dodge calls timed acceleration trials, which we all know as drag racing. Today on Explained, we'll take a deep dive into the creation of the Demon, a car whose inception is rooted purely in the quest to be the fastest in the quarter mile. 1968. This was an era when if manufacturers wanted a car to sell, they either competed at the strip in NHRA Superstock or the Big Oval in NASCAR. The phrase "win on Sunday and sell on Monday" was popularized during this time, and one of the best to do it was the Chrysler Corporation. Their competitive edge was summed up to a single advantage, the 426 Hemi, which Chrysler's engine division built purely for NHRA and NASCAR racing. It was derived from the earlier 426 Wedge, but with hemispherical combustion chambers that flowed extremely well, with the addition of thicker cylinder walls, a forged and nitride hardened crankshaft, and cross-bolted main caps. After it was introduced 4 years prior, it would get banned from NASCAR thanks to Richard Petty's Plymouth Belvedere, and would continue to wreak havoc in NHRA Superstock. For 1968 though, Dodge would create one of the fastest cars you can buy on the planet. With the help of Hurst, they took the 426 Hemi and cradled it into an A-body 383 Dart GTS chassis, which was considered a compact car by American standards. It saved weight even more with acid-dipped steel doors to lighten them, fiberglass fenders and cowl hood, and any comforts were completely eliminated. The center console, heater, sound deadening, mirrors, radio, carpeting, and armrests were deleted to save weight. The 426 Hemi inside wasn't the street spec offering. It was the high 12.5-to-1 compression racing power plant with an aluminum cross ram, and was spec'd with the street camshaft, which 99% of the owners would replace with a more aggressive camshaft before racing. It was the Superleggera of the 60s, lightweight at 3,000 pounds even, and making north of 500 horsepower. It helped it run mid-10-second quarter-mile times right off the trailer, or if you drove it to the track, since it was kinda street legal and kinda not. It was legal in the sense that it was a factory option Dodge Dart that could be registered for street use, but also not legal since Dodge explicitly stated it wasn't street legal. They were so overpowered on release, the NHRA would set aside a class of its own purely for the Hemis.
You can make more horsepower with the Chevrolets, peak horsepower. The Hemi was a little bit less, but the Hemi had it all the way across the board. You could be out ahead of a Hemi and he'd come right back by you at the finish line.
By 1971, politics, bad press, the death grip of emissions regulation, and insurance premiums had all manufacturers downsizing and restricting outputs. Dodge had to get real clever with the models, and a big factor to sales was affordability. The Hemis were fast, but didn't sell because the engine option was more than a quarter of the price of the car. Dodge would take a shot in the dark with the Dart, and would share platforms with Plymouth's popular fastback called the Duster, but with a Dart front clip, and renamed the Demon. The Demon 340 specifically was the best horsepower per dollar offered by Dodge at the time. The 340 cubic inch V8 was essentially a bored out 318, but with a shot peen forged crankshaft, hammer forged connecting rods, and 10.3-to-1 high compression pistons, which were near the limits for pump gas. The underrated 275 horsepower V8 was a rocket in the compact A-body, and combined with a 4-speed Hurst-shifted manual, it could propel them to sub 14-second quarter-mile times, which in the 70s was impressive. The Demon was marketed as part of the Scat Pack. This was Dodge's performance lineup that could run the quarter mile in 14 seconds flat or quicker. and Dodge encouraged upgrading them with SCAT packages, which were tailored packages of high duration and lift camshafts, Hooker headers, Edelbrock manifolds, and Holley carburetors to push the Demon 340 even further. It was common to see modified 340s running mid to low 12-second quarter-mile times with SCAT package modifications. Even with its value to performance proposition, sales didn't keep it around, since it was argued people of faith had a hard time explaining driving a Demon to church on Sunday. The 1972 model year was neutered with lower compression and smaller valves, and by 1973 it would be named the Dart Sport, and its spirit would go dormant for decades. The Demon name would appear briefly in concept form, an unassuming Demon built to compete with Mazda's MX-5 Miata, but it never materialized, which could be seen as a good thing in some regards. It would take SRT, or street and racing technology, to give the Demon a proper summoning of its return. Codename Benny was the internal moniker for the resurrection of the Demon. Even with the newest, hottest Mopar on the block, the SRT Hellcat, making its waves in the press, SRT was already sowing the seeds of the Demon's successor. The project was shrouded in secrecy, and even engineers developing parts for it didn't know exactly what they were for. The NASCAR engine dynamometers used to torture the new power plant was run only on weekends and at night, when the least amount of employees were around. The engine was based on the Hellcat 6.2-liter Hemi, but almost everything was thrown out and reworked. A beefier block, stronger rotating assembly, the camshaft was much more aggressive, and a larger 2.7-liter supercharger over the Hellcat's 2.4-liter unit. The output of the engine was confidential until the last stages of the Demon's development, which was revealed at 840 horsepower when specifically using 100+ octane race fuel in the Demon Crate ECU. This Demon wasn't a standalone model like the 70s, rather it was a trim of the Challenger, which meant that the Challenger underpinnings needed to be able to withstand the abuse of a drag-oriented halo model. So the differential, transmission, cooling, all the way down to the wheel studs were re-engineered to survive abuse. At its release, it was the fastest non-EV in the quarter mile with a 9.65 second ET at 140 miles per hour, besting even the most expensive exotics at the time. This drag model took cues from its predecessors, stripped out components like the 68 Hemi Dart, but priced considerably less than what it can compete with in the quarter mile like the Demon 340. Let's be honest, $85,000 isn't a bargain by any standard, but when it wipes $500,000 exotics, the monthly note just stings a little bit less. It was limited to 1 year model in 3,300 examples and sold out almost instantly, some even paying a hefty ticket over MSRP just to get one. The Demon's development breakthroughs would also trickle down into other models. The Red-Eye Hellcat getting the Demon's 2.7-liter supercharger and cooling system. The 1320 Scat Pack received the Demon's suspension and trans brake. The wide-body flares were now an option throughout Dodge's lineup, and even the Super Stock was as close to the Demon as you could get, even being offered with sticky nittos like the Demon. As with everything, there's an expiration date, and for the Hemi, it's 2023, but that doesn't mean it has to go out quietly. The newest offerings from SRT and the final internal combustion powered Demon is the Demon 170. The 170 being its alcohol proof since it can run on 85% ethanol. It shares more with the Elephant crate engine than the prior Demon offering, with a 3-liter blacktop supercharger pushing over 20 psi of boost versus 15 in the Demon. The throttle body is 105mm versus 92mm. The cylinder head bolts are replaced with studs for more clamping force. Even down to the block machining is completely different. The big breakthrough in the 170 is its flex fuel capability, meaning that the ECU can detect alcohol percentage and adjust fuel and ignition timing for the most power and can continually adjust values between gasoline and ethanol. This makes the 6.2-liter Hemi output in the 4-digit club at 1,025 horsepower, and the quarter mile can be completed below 9 seconds, making it the fastest production car in the quarter mile, period. Even just as impressive is making the Challenger achieve this level of performance. Remember, this platform has underpinnings from 2015. What's not from 2015 is the carbon fiber wheels, which shed 30 pounds front to back. The trans brake is even more aggressive than before, which means that the differential and axles also are put on steroids. The most outrageous thing of all is, according to the NHRA, any car built after 2014 requires a parachute, and Dodge made it available through their direct connection upgrades. Without it, the Demon 170 is banned from NHRA drag strips. While many revel over the newest, fastest, most demonic Demon, I could only imagine what it was like in 1968 when the Hemi Dart hit the scene. Before the likes of the internet, you had to go spectate an NHRA event to lay your eyes on the Hemis of the day. Today, to watch the fastest factory drag Hemis are a couple clicks away, but back then, it was the price of an admission ticket.